Now we can start using our 3D commands like you see here. Let's go back to page 2. We're going to use a command called region, and the steps are to select objects, and if it all changed to a new color, you're done. Otherwise, you have to type undo and zoom in and fix any breaks or trims before we use the extrude command. I'll show you what I mean by that. If there is an issue where we won't be able to region it, it's for these following reasons. If this corner happens to be touching your other part of the object, geometrically, AutoCAD will not know what to do with it. Because mathematically, if they're trying to make a closed shape but it touches itself, it does not know how to create a closed shape. So if yours is touching, all I ask you to do is to temporarily draw a line from the center and draw a new endpoint, as you see here. Trim off the edges that might be touching the corner and use this as your new closed shape, like that. Because we need a closed shape, we had to get rid of this little feature right here, so delete that completely out of the way. Then you can check to make sure everything is closed. If there's a break, you'll find out at this next step. So you type in region, select all your objects, and hit enter. You'll get a message on the bottom right here that says one loop extracted, one region created. If yours says 0, 0, that means you do have a mistake. So you need to go find out what that is. Now I happen to have 2 extra blue arcs, but they're not part of the region, as you can see when I move this apart. So these are not needed. You probably don't have that situation. I did because I made this part more than once. Okay? So, before we go on to the next step, we need to go to View, Viewport Configuration, 2 vertical, and split this in half. On one side, you're going to go to Southwest Isometric so you can see what you're going to be working on, and the other one you keep it as a top view. Our next step is going to be the extrude command. We're going to extrude that object 3.5. So, I type in extrude. I'm on the left side right now. I'll pick my part and hit enter. I'll point up and type in 3.5. This is what you should see. I'm going to show you an incorrect extrusion so you know what to look for if you did it wrong. Let me copy this over again to demonstrate to you an incorrect extrusion. I'm going to purposely break this open somewhere so it's not closed, even though it looks like it's closed from a distance. So when I type in region and I select these objects and hit enter, this message here says 0. But if I ignore that and extrude it anyway, because I wasn't paying attention, you select this and hit enter and extrude it to 3.5, you will get this type of shape instead. This is not a solid object. If you do see this type of feature, undo it and find your mistake, which is right there, and extrude it again. What this really is not a solid object, as I'm about to show you, but I forget what they call it. It's like a thin object with there's no internal solid feature in it. See how it's hollow? It's a hollow object, unlike our solid object, which we do want to use. So like I said, if you see this situation, undo it, and then fix the mistakes, and then extrude it so it's solid like this. Okay? Well, I have to take this out to continue in the next step of our video. Alright, the next step says, to align, we're going to use the object snaps, and we're going to do what are called source and destination points, and we're going to move our part onto the front view. Let me show you visually what that means. We're going to move this feature to here. So, the command is called align. I'm going to remove the 2 viewports so you can see this a little bit better. Let me move in closer. So to show you what we're going to do. Remember, this is our original two-dimensional object right here. So, the way the command works is it's asking you to move points from one place to another. We're going to move this corner here to here. And we're going to move this little corner here at the back to here. And then it'll rotate, move, and land in place. Align is spelled A-L-I-G-N. Select this object, hit enter. And then you'll see the mouse say specify first source point. My first one would be this back corner right here. And I'll move it to here. You'll see a line forming. They do disappear, but the computer knows what's going on. You pick this point right here in the back and move it all the way over to this side. I don't have any other points I can select because if I try to move this corner to here, it can't work because it's a curve. I don't have it rounded off yet. Same with the top. So I won't have any other options. My mouse is looking for a third option as you read it, but just hit enter. The command line will say scale objects based on alignment points. Say no. And there you go. You see it rotate and move. Now to see what happened, there it is. It is sitting directly on top of our two-dimensional part. Okay. Now we're moving on to another feature. It's called the boundary command. I'm going to explain to you what we're going to do with that. All right. We're doing step 6. No, we already did step 6. We're doing step 7, boundary. Select pick points and pick inside the two rectangle boxes of the barrels and hit enter. Let me show you what that means. All right. I need to temporarily take off my 3D layer. And I'm going to make the object layer current so I can make boxes from these two rectangles. They look like rectangles, but right now they're not. So the command to turn them into rectangles is called boundary. Type in boundary, and then this window will pop up. Select pick points, pick inside the box, and you'll see with on screen a dashed outline show up here and here. Pick both of them and hit enter. You could do boundary on more than one object at a time because they're separate from each other. There's one here and there's one there. If it doesn't work, you have a break here, or if you want to skip the step altogether, you could just pick the rectangle command and draw a rectangle from one side to the other, because that's basically all it is. A boundary is just a closed rectangle, as you saw me draw right there. Extrude. Select the two objects that you just made a boundary of and hit enter. You're going to make these really tall. Exaggerate the size. Okay? If you want to make them thicker, away from the part, turn ortho on. You have ability to grab this at the bottom and stretch it out longer. Do you see that? Okay? But ortho has to be on for this to work. Otherwise, you'll accidentally bend it. These triangles here, please ignore those. Let me show you what those are. Wrong button. Okay, see how I just made them longer? These, however, don't use. This turns them into different types of pyramids. So don't accidentally do that. And this one here just makes it taller. That's all it does. But to make it longer, you have to grab the grip at the bottom of the box, which is right here. Okay? Don't pick the corners, because if you pick a corner, it'll do that. Okay? So obviously, there's more advanced topics coming up in three-dimensional design, but for now we're keeping it basic. All right. Now that those are drawn, we do have to move them into place, which is step number 9. Using the 3D object snap, we're going to move the two rectangles down to the endpoints of the original two rectangles. Okay, the move command. So, go to home, go to move, pick these two rectangles and hit enter. You're going to hover and look for a blue midpoint snap. 3D snaps are blue, not green. Pick this, and we need to move our boxes down into the part. So I'm going to grab the corner right there, or the end point. Let me turn the color on so you can see what we're doing. And let me turn on the hinge layer back on, the 3D layer back on, so you can see what we're doing. Because we're about to use a command called subtract to remove them. See that right there? Those giant boxes are cutting through the hinge. Alright. Very simple step. You just got to practice that. Next step. Number 10. Subtract the two rectangles from the hinge. And then it says here to save it. And we primarily save as frequently as possible, because when you work in 3D on AutoCAD, sometimes you have a bad habit of the program will freeze on you or shut down, and then you have to redo all your steps, because 3D takes a lot of processing power, and sometimes that just happens. So always save your work. The command is called subtract. The way subtract works is like this. After you pick subtract, it says select objects. You don't select everything. You select what you're going to keep first and hit enter. Then you select what you don't want next and hit enter, and watch what it does. It takes away anything that those boxes were touching. Do you see that? And there's our 3-barrel hinge without the holes, but there it is right there. So we've taken a simple shape like this, extruded it, and subtracted out 2 of the 5 barrels. On the other drawing, you do the opposite. Okay, so that step is done. So I'll do a file save as, because I want to save my work so the computer doesn't crash on me, and save it as PBA 2-barrel and add the word 3 dimensions on it. Okay, I've already done that, so I'm not going to do it now. The next step is drawing the countersinks. We're going to copy the side view a second time because we need information from the side view, and we're going to use a boundary command, a new command called Revolve. Let's do that together. So, I'm zooming out to see what I got so far. I need to turn on some layers so we can do this. I need my center line layer back on. My hidden line layer back on. We're going to copy this over again. I need to do some more work with this. Let me split my views into 2 again. There's this one. And here's the top. Okay. So I'm using a copy again. We have to make countersinks from this section of our part, but we don't need all this information. Remember, this is not the original. This one I can manipulate. I'm going to select everything and turn all of it into the same layer, the construction layer, which I better turn on. The construction layer. Okay? I'm going to delete some of this I don't need anymore. I'm going to trim stuff I don't need. I basically need just the countersinks like you see here and that center line. Okay. Once again, this came from this. I just copied it and turned everything to construction line layer. Now I can work with it. All right. Type in boundary again. Remember, when you type in boundary, this window pops up. You pick on the top left the word pick points. That's all you need to do. And we're going to pick this bottom section right here. And it formed a boundary. Do you see that? Hit enter. Okay, it changed the layer that I had current, which in my case was the object layer. That's all right. I should have the 3D layer current, but it really doesn't matter. I can move it to the 3D layer right now by picking it and picking 3D. Okay? I'll make that 3D layer current. Alright. Now, you can barely see it, but it's there. I can erase the rest of the construction layer. Now there's my 3D layer right there. Alright, I want to show you how this works in 3D, so I'm going to switch over to here. The command is called Revolve. R-E-V-O-L-V-E. It says select objects to revolve. I want to pick my boundary. When you hit enter, you're going to see it working automatically. After it says specify axis start point, that's this center line. So I'll pick both sides. And do you see that? We're going to make a hole. Okay? You can't just snap to here though, unfortunately, because it always goes back to 0. So you type in a full circle, which is 360. Okay? And that right there will eventually move into place over into this part. And then we're going to subtract those pieces out.